Hey guys, it's Owen from Wrestling Inc. back with another wrestling news roundup. Without any further ado, let's get into today's biggest stories in the world of professional wrestling. WWE reports record Q1 2022 results, Vince McMahon comments. WWE has announced their first quarter 2022 report yesterday, touting a quarterly record of $333.4 million in revenue, among other highlights. The records are for the first quarter that ended on March 31st. WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon commented on WWE's strong start to 2022. Quote, "We are off to a strong start in 2022, highlighted by record quarterly revenue and adjusted OIBDA," Vince said. "We continue to effectively execute our strategy, including staging the most stupendous WrestleMania ever in early April. WrestleMania, as well as our other successful premium live events such as Day One, Royal Rumble, and Elimination Chamber, further expanded the reach of our brands and enhanced the value of our content, as evidenced by increased ticket revenue and viewership. We continue to monetize our intellectual property across various platforms through our media rights agreements, both domestically and abroad, as well as through the monetization of new original series, including our expanded partnership with A&E. WWE Chief Financial and Administrative Officer Frank Riddick added, quote, "In the quarter, we exceeded the high end of our guidance. Adjusted OIBDA increased 33%, reflecting 27% in revenue growth. Our strong financial performance was primarily driven by our return to a full live event schedule, including the staging of a successful large-scale international event. These items more than offset the absence of one-time upfront revenue recognition related to the delivery of certain WWE Network intellectual property rights in the prior year period." AEW Dynamite draws lowest normal time slot audience in almost 1 year. Wednesday's live edition of AEW Dynamite drew 833,000 viewers on TBS, according to Nielsen via Showbuzz Daily. This is down 9.55% from last week's episode, which drew 921,000 viewers. This week's Dynamite drew a 0.32 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. This is down 3.03% from last week's 0.33 rating. Dynamite ranks number 4 on the cable top 150 this week with a 0.32 rating in the 18 to 49 key demographic. This is even with last week's number 4 ranking. Dynamite ranks number 36 in viewership for the night on cable this week. This is up from last week's number 37 ranking. Wednesday's Dynamite drew the lowest audience for the show in its normal time slot since May 19, 2021, which went up against an NBA play-in game. This was the second lowest key demo rating this year, ahead of the February 16 episode. Wednesday's Dynamite viewership was down 9.55% from last week, while the key demo rating was down 3.03% from last week too. This week's Dynamite viewership was down 24% from the same week in 2021. The key demo rating was also down 24% from the previous year. The 2021 episode did not face any competition from the NBA. Big E provides update on his broken neck. Big E took to Twitter this morning to provide an update on his recovery from a broken neck. The former WWE champion revealed his recovery may be taking a little longer than expected, stating his C1, quote, "isn't healing optimally," and that he will need to spend another 4 to 6 weeks in a neck brace to avoid fusion surgery. Quote, "For those desirous of an update, my C1 apparently isn't healing optimally. I'll spend another 4 to 6 weeks in a brace in hopes that I can avoid a fusion. But don't you fret, I've got a tremendous support system, and what shall be, shall be." Following his neck injury on the March 11 episode of SmackDown, Big E confirmed that he didn't suffer any spinal cord or ligament damage and therefore would not require surgery. At the time, Big E explained that his C1 and C6 vertebrae were fractured. He was expected to heal completely within 8 to 12 weeks, the regular recovery time for a fractured neck. Within a week of his neck fracture, Big E posted a video of himself walking around his neighborhood, which was viewed as a positive step in his recovery process. Later in March, Big E revealed that his doctor informed him that he, quote, "narrowly escaped a stroke, paralysis, or death." AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door pre-sale instantly sells out, limited seats remaining. As noted, New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Elite Wrestling will join forces for a super show later this summer. It will take place on June 26 at the United Center in Chicago and will be called Forbidden Door. Pre-sale tickets for the event went on sale yesterday morning, and it was reportedly an instant sellout, as can be seen on the images from WrestleTix online. Quote, well over 20,000 people were in the ticket queue at some point this morning, with the website letting people in slowly until all available tickets were sold. It took around 40 minutes until every ticket that could be purchased was snagged. It is expected that a limited amount of tickets will become available when they are open to the general public on Friday, May 6 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The arena is currently set up to hold around 14,000 fans, but it is possible limited view seats become available or they try to expand the seating map. An AEW New Japan Super Show is just the latest step in the partnership between the two sides, which began in February of 2021, with some New Japan Pro Wrestling stars appearing on AEW programming. Since then, talents from both companies have worked together in New Japan Strong, AEW Dynamite, Rampage, and other shows from both organizations. Backstage note on the 2022 WWE Draft. WWE will be gearing up for the 2022 draft soon. A recent report from Ringside News notes that the WWE Draft is now on the internal calendar for September. The dates for the 2021 draft were changed a few times, and that could end up happening again this year. A new report from the Wrestling Observer notes that there's also talk of holding the draft in August this year, right after SummerSlam on July 30th. There's a feeling among some that they will hold the draft after SummerSlam in August as the lead up to WWE's Clash at the Castle event on September 3rd, or after the Clash event during the month of September. No date has been finalized, but the plan is to hold the draft around that time frame. The 2021 WWE Draft kicked off on the October 1 edition of SmackDown and then wrapped up with the October 4 Raw. WWE reportedly very impressed with Big Cass' AEW debut. WWE officials were very impressed by the AEW debut of W. Morrissey, formerly known as Big Cass, according to Andrew Zarian of the latest Mat Men Pro Wrestling podcast. Quote, I'm not going to say that WWE is going to take him, but I can tell you that WWE is definitely impressed by him, Zarian said. There's no way around it, man. I got a message last night while he's coming out, and somebody wrote, did you effing see this guy? Earlier in the podcast, Zarian said a number of people were inquiring about Morrissey's contractual status. Quote, I got a couple of messages about him from people, Zarian stated, people wanting to know when his contract ends. We noted last November how Morrissey's contract with Impact was about to expire. Since then, he has reportedly worked for the company on a handshake per date deal. On this week's Impact Wrestling, Morrissey defeated Brian Myers in a tables match just a night after appearing live on Dynamite. Morrissey and Jordan Grace have been in a feud with Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green and Myers for a while now, and once again brawled on this week's show. Morrissey last wrestled as Big Cass in WWE at the 2018 Money in the Bank pay-per-view, where he lost to Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, in a singles match. He was released shortly thereafter. So what are your thoughts on today's Wrestling News Roundup? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestling Inc. and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.